One day soon, I'm gonna be the boss.
And I'm going to teach and empower the next generation.
One day soon, I'll use science to save the planet.
And one day soon, I'll save lives.
Right now, I'm ready to take the first step.
No matter what your goal, choose a pathway at Southern Cross University to transform your future.
G'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm your host, Rob Malicki. I'm coming to you today from Garigal Land in Sydney, and I pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this incredible land on which I live and work. And this session is a great one. It's on studying and working in law. And my guest today is Mayred Stone from Legal Vision. We're going to be diving into what it means to study law and actually to work as a lawyer. If you've got any questions as we go, you can drop them in the chat. If you're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, drop them in the chat or here on the session hub as well. And we'll do our best to get to some of those questions by the end. If we don't manage to get to your question, then we'll be answering everything in the Choosing Your Uni Discord. You'll find the details in the session description down below. And parents, if you've got a question about law, then you can ask that in the Facebook community, which we've set up specifically for this event. So you can do that. Details down in the description below as well. Anyway, let's go and jump on the couch and we're going to be chatting with Mayred Stone from Legal Vision. Let's go. Mayred Stone, welcome to the National Virtual Expo. Thanks for joining me.
Hi Rob, very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm really pumped for this conversation because I'm sure there are plenty of people who are joining us today live and who'll be watching this back on the recording who are interested in going and studying law, maybe becoming a lawyer, but might not actually know, what it's like, in real life, so to speak, to study and to work. But before we get onto all that, tell me a little bit about you, how you ended up becoming a lawyer, your backstory.
Yeah, of course. Well, I have been working at Legal Vision for a bit over a year now. I started as a law graduate, so right out of uni. And then I became a lawyer in December last year. So I've only been a lawyer for a little bit of time, but I have been doing the day-to-day of a lawyer for over a year now. About me personally, I really enjoy reading. I'm a big fan of fantasy books, actually. Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorites, and I also like board games with friends, watching movies, going on walks. I also have a little ragdoll cat who's the light of my world. And yeah, just personally, I really enjoy strategy, which is kind of why I got into law. I really like the analytical thinking. And that was also encapsulated in my interest in history in high school.
Nice.
I think that really transferred to me going into law.
So were you one of those people that always knew you wanted to be a lawyer, or is that something that came to you?
No. So it got to the point about fourth year, fifth year law school where I was like, I definitely do not want to go into law. And then I changed my mind. So doubt is very common. I know that some people know straight away what they want to do, but I took forever to figure out what I wanted to do. And at one point I was like, I just want to get into it. I want to see what it's like in practice. And once I did, then I learned to love it. So I think there is a bit of a difference between studying and then actually doing the work. And I found that was really exciting.
Tell me about that. Actually, I've got two questions for you. The first is like why? Why did you have those doubts, in fourth and fifth year? And then secondly, that difference between work and study.
Yeah, sure. So I think the doubts were a bit to do with me being a perfectionist. And I know that everyone goes through this in law, but having that imposter syndrome effect where you think, oh, can I really exceed? Everyone else is really smart. What am I doing here? Not to say, I do think I am smart, but I was just worried about making mistakes and not feeling confident. So that was really holding me back. I also was wondering whether I just wanted to go into more of a business role and do something specific to one business and then proceed into senior management or something like that, because I really like working with businesses and understanding the strategy behind that, the motivations and business needs. But yeah, eventually I ended up here at Legal Vision and I'm really happy. And sorry, I did forget your second question, Rob. I've just been rambling on, but...
No, it's good, it's good. You said that like the study is very different to the work.
Yes. Yeah.
In what way?
Yeah, so I guess the studying aspect, you're really expected to know the case law, know the law. Of course you are as well in day-to-day, but it's less about memorization and more about application. So you still do research in day-to-day when working in law. The main thing is that you have the fundamentals down and then can apply that to a specific client. Whereas when you studied in law, it's just memorizing principles and there's a bit less of that application. You still do problem questions where you're expected to analyze the law and say how it applies in a specific instance, but you don't get as much nuance about what you should be recommending the clients do. It's more of a third person point of view, which made it a bit hard for me to connect with what I was doing in uni.
What kind of person, so knowing what you know now, what kind of person would be well suited to becoming a lawyer? And I just want to preface that a little bit because I think it's one of those areas where some people from when they're very young, they're like, I'm going to be a lawyer. Or there's a lot of pressure on people, whether it's from family pressure or influence or spend my ATAR, got a great ATAR, I want to spend it to get into law school. But reality out there in the workforce can be very, very different. So now knowing what you know, who would be well suited to this pathway?
Yeah, I think, look, as long as you have the drive to want to do a good job and you are interested in law, then I think you can go for it. I think we need more people from different backgrounds and people who are interested but perhaps feel a bit of doubt, because that's how we enrich the profession and get more perspectives. So really, if you enjoy analysing, if you have a strategic mindset, if you like the practice of conversing with clients and getting to understand their needs and helping them, a lot of people really love the aspect of knowing that they're assisting someone in need. So for me, I work in commercial law, so I'm helping businesses with their commercial needs. But in other areas of law, you might be helping someone on an individual basis who's really in need of assistance and is having one of the most stressful times of their life. So you're kind of like a lighthouse to them to guide them through those times. And a lot of people find that really fulfilling.
Yeah, I must say, like I've been working with Legal Vision now for, and like just to explain the connection for people who are watching on Legal Vision. You guys are my representatives for our organisation. I've been working with you guys now for about 18 months, and I've just loved that element where, and it's quite an interesting way of working. So essentially, we have a subscription to Legal Vision, and so I get unlimited support around what I need as a business owner, as an organisation, and it's been so reassuring. This model particularly I think works really well, but we've had some we haven't been sued or anything, but you've got business questions, you've got contract questions, you've got strategy questions, and having that expertise to be able to reach out to has been phenomenal for me, just to take stress off. I've got a contract I need someone to look over. Oh, like I can hand it off. I get great advice. Like that's actually amazing. So it must be very rewarding for you guys on the other side of that,
Yes,
to know that
and
you're taking the stress off the shoulders of a small organisation.
yeah, definitely. And I do love the model that you guys can come to us and ask your questions, and we can just respond, have a conversation. It does feel a lot more personal than other models of law, especially because I don't have to worry about billable hours.
Yeah.
I'm more thinking about your needs rather than timing and costs. So
It's absolutely brilliant model. I mean, as a client perspective, I absolutely love it. Just backing up a second to sort of who would be well suited for law. Some of the stereotypes. Do you have to be a good public speaker in order to be a good lawyer?
It definitely forms part of it. I think personally I'm not the best at public speaking, but it is something that I'm looking to improve on. Certainly if you're looking to go into the courtroom role, so if you're looking to become a barrister, it is more important.
Yeah.
And if you're just working like I do with businesses or with individual clients, then it is something that you would work on, but you're not expected to be perfect straight away. So yeah, like really, it shouldn't hold you back. Just take it on board as something that you can work on and see where the opportunities arise to practice. It's one of those things where you just need to do it day to day to eventually improve your skills. And there are other aspects that might be more suited to your skills. So we do a lot of written advice and you can work on that, improve how to speak in plain English, for example. That is another difference from law school, where you use legal jargon as opposed to communicating with clients where you just need to explain things clearly.
Yeah, it's very true, isn't it? Like, firstly, both those things are true, like the legal jargon translating into English. Like, secret hint for those people watching, that applies in most jobs, to be honest. Like, you have technical knowledge, and if you really want to do well, the people who do best, I think, are the people that can take complex concepts and make them accessible. So it's certainly true. And then the trainable skill, around public speaking. Even if you're a bit of an introvert and you're like, oh my God, I don't know about dealing with clients and having to interact. These are all trainable skills that you learn when you're in the workforce. But maybe thinking about being in law school, studying law, can you talk a little bit about that experience? For example, moot courts, debating, talking about that kind of skills development that you do as you go through university?
Yeah, definitely. There's opportunities to do mooting in university. I did very little. I did do some training on it, but I decided not to go through with it. Maybe I should have. It would have helped a lot with developing that confidence.
Do you want to, could you explain, Mayor, just what it is, just for those people who might not have any idea what's going on?
So it's essentially a mock or pretend trial where you've got a judge, oftentimes there are actual judges, and then you're arguing a case against another side. So the other side will also be law students, and you'll step up, present. It's quite similar to debating in the sense that you've got a first, second, or third speaker, but you're debating a legal question in a trial format, really.
Yeah, very nice. So if that once again, that's one element of law, isn't it? If you're looking to do that sort of court side work, then that's a really good format. And with mooting, you have the opportunity to not only do that, for example, inside your university, but there are competitions across Australia. There are global competitions where you might actually be able to go and travel around the world, literally to debate other students. It's brilliant. Like it's a really, I think one of the most exciting things about if you become a law student is that opportunity to go and travel and engage with other people.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of school, let's hone in on students who are in high school now and who might be interested in studying law. How relevant, and what parts of what they're doing now might end up being relevant and important in terms of studying and then eventually working in law?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is that you learn how to think as a lawyer. So if you're doing social studies, humanitarian studies, such as English, history, then you learn the skills that you need that can transfer into law. So with English, there's a lot of analytical skills there. History is understanding cause and effect. And it is a bit surprising, but law is very logical. A lot of people think that you just come up with an argument and then try and confuse your opponents. But when you get down to basics, it's what is the law? How can this be interpreted? And then what does this mean? So essentially it is cause and effect. If you're doing legal studies, it does teach you the base skills, and that can help you in the first year of law school. I personally didn't do legal studies, but I did have friends who did legal studies in high school, and they found it helped them a lot with the first subject that we did, which was Foundations of Law. But as you get into uni, if you decide to go down the legal route, then you will learn a lot more things in university, and it's not necessarily the case that you need to have done legal studies in high school.
I also love what you were saying earlier on in our conversation, which was, you know, you can go and study law, and like you were considering not becoming a lawyer. You're actually thinking, oh, maybe I'll just go into business. And I think that's quite an exciting opportunity, right? Because in fact, the law applies everywhere across society, everywhere. Like from businesses to society to, you know, walking down the street and not doing the wrong thing. Like it's everywhere. So in fact, those core skills that you get from studying law can actually apply in such a wide context, can't they?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of politicians start off in a law degree. Any sort of business role, I think a law degree is a valuable thing and something that stands out. There is some degree of prestige around doing law, so you can use that to your benefit. And I think the skills that you learn in learning how to analyze, learning how to think, how to communicate, those can be transferred to a broad range of roles, as you said.
So without, I'm trying to think about how to frame this question so I don't make it sound like it's a negative or a positive. Let me just get it out. So obviously when we're thinking about law, there is this kind of prestige factor, right? You know, I'm in Sydney, so when you're going through your HSC, if you want to get into law, you want to get into Sydney law. And if you're in Melbourne, you probably want to get into the University of Melbourne. And you've got this kind of prestige, but is that kind of real when you're out in the workforce? Like, to what extent does the fact that you've been to one uni or other, does that actually matter?
It may matter a little bit when you're first applying for roles, but I mean, I have no idea what uni half of my colleagues went to. It's really not relevant. It's more of, it's an advantage to get through the gates, and there might be a bit of nepotism or a bit of collegiate mentality to know, oh, I went to the same uni, but beyond that, it's, if you have the skills, if you have the learning, which you can get at whatever university you go to, then that's the main thing. And I personally don't believe that going to a different university other than the University of Sydney or the other state and territory universities should matter all that much.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? I think in a lot of fields of study, there's this perception before you go in that, oh, I need to go to this university in order to succeed in life. And I think almost universally, it's complete nonsense in Australia. It doesn't apply. To me, what's way more important is that once you're at university, it's not just about what you study in the classroom, it's what you do outside as well. You're nodding, so you agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, I didn't take advantage of all the opportunities that were available to me. Like I said, with moving, I could have done that. But I think if you can show that you've been really involved in university, then those people skills look really great on paper. And that's something that you can advertise and use to your advantage with applying for legal jobs.
Yeah, I personally think that, and I've seen it many, many times, like if you get involved in the Law Society or, maybe some mooting, or you do a student exchange, or, you take a leadership program, or you volunteer, like all these other experiences that you build around your degree, when you go to get that job, that first job, let's say you went to University of Western Sydney and did law, and you're competing against the USyd law graduate, well, yeah, maybe the USyd brand helps that person, but if on your resume, you've got the fact you've been involved in all these other things. Personally, as somebody who's employed many people over the years, that's going to make me way more interested in you as a candidate than just where you went.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I'm still early on into my career, so I haven't had any fun, of course, but that's the sense I get from talking with people in my team and talking with my manager, that they're looking for people who have the skills, who can speak with people, who are well-rounded, and it's not about whether you went to a prestigious university or not.
Good people are everywhere. So if you're thinking of law, don't feel like your only option is like the big brands. Any law degree essentially ends up with the same qualification. You still have to go and do College of Law afterwards, which is your practical training. Do you want to speak a little bit about that, Mary?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people don't know about College of Law. It's what we call practical legal training. So once you finish your degree, if you want to become a lawyer, you need to do this. You can do it part-time or full-time. I decided to do it part-time so I could work at the same time. And then it took me about 6 months or so. And you go through different subjects like you would in university, but you're really trying to learn the practical skills of what you'd be doing if you work in that area of law. So we started off with some general skills, such as learning how to negotiate, which was very useful because I had no idea how to do that. And for example, we did do a bit of a mock trial where we had to stand up and give appearances, which is where you introduce yourself, say what the matter is, and then what orders you're seeking or what you're going to do. And then we went through individual subjects. So, for example, property law, learning how to do PEXA documents and learn what that process is. So that's where you're selling a property, and basically there are different steps involved in that process. And then, so it was really just a case of trying to figure out the day-to-day of what you would be doing if you did work in that specific area, and it was pretty helpful.
What's day-to-day like as a lawyer? What do you do? What's life like?
Yeah, for me personally, I have 12 scheduled calls a week with clients. Sometimes I don't need the calls if they know what they want, and we can just communicate via email. But get on a call with them, I'll figure out what instructions they're giving me. So that's when they tell me what to do, essentially, because we need to act on instructions. And just try and get a bit of background about what they're trying to do, and then provide the next steps. So that might be drafting documents for them, or it might be reviewing a document that another party has given them. So, for example, we work a lot in the NDIS space, so we might draft services agreements for participants in NDIS. So people with disability, when they're receiving supports, will need to sign an agreement with the service provider. We also work a lot in the software as a service space, so we might draft some terms and conditions or review terms and conditions from the other side. Another thing that we work on a lot is in privacy, so we can draft privacy policies, we can give privacy advice as well. So really it's a lot of drafting or reviewing documents and then giving advice.
You actually, I'm just thinking about day-to-day life, and I loved the TV series Suits, right? Watched it on Netflix, series 1 to 8. I completely missed it when it first came out and then binged the entire thing. And of course, there's this perception that, lawyers are in the office at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock and they're out at 8 p.m. Is that real?
It can happen sometimes, but majority of the time, it also depends where you work, but at least at Legal Vision, that is not expected of you. So you definitely still have a work-life balance. You might be expected to work overtime if there is a particular thing that needs to go out, but it's reasonable. And I think a lot of the time, if there is any overtime, at least for me, it's because I want to do a good job and I want to ensure that I get this right. Our hours are 8:30 to 5:30. We're not expected to adhere strictly to that timeline. So if a lot of people show up at 8:45 or 9, and that's fine. And we do get out of the office before it gets dark, for sure.
That sounds like a perfect workplace. And I mean, just to speak to that, so there's this perception, not just about law having crazy hours, but there are definitely certain types of companies. If you go into a grad recruitment program at one of the big four consulting companies, yeah, you're going to get flogged. Like, you're going to be doing long hours and working really hard. There's going to be plenty of pressure. And that's for a certain type of person, right? So for those people watching along here on the live stream or watching on the recording, you got to think about what's going to work for you in your life. If you're not good with pressure, you don't want to be like absolutely working day and night to build your career. That's not your obsession. Big four consulting company, probably not a great idea, because that's the nature of the business. So I think what you said, Mary, is very true. It's probably less about the industry and it's more about the organization that you're going into, and also what you want with the career that you're trying to build.
Yeah, definitely. And look, that now that you mention it, that's another reason why I wasn't sure about working in law, because I wanted to have a work-life balance. I wasn't sure whether that would be doable if I pursued a lawyer role. But, you know, I think as I get better at my job and as I progress in my career, I'll obviously work more, and I'm really keen to do that. So it's not a case of not wanting to work, but having an organisation that actually cares about your well-being is really important to me. And I imagine it is to a lot of students and high school students, university students as well, who are looking to go into similar roles.
And you'll find those, like if you look for them, you'll find those kind of companies like Legal Vision where it's great work environment, not just about doing the work as well. Maybe we're running close to time. I was hoping we might get to some Q&A, but we're probably going to run out of time. And I really wanted to ask you about AI and its impact on law. As part of this National Virtual Expo, we are covering a number of sessions on AI technology, how it's impacting the workforce, how it's impacting careers, because obviously there's this massive shift on at the moment. And law is obviously one of those areas where AI probably can be useful. Can you give us some insight into what you're seeing now that you're in the workforce about how AI is changing the work, what it might mean for the people who are watching here and their potential careers in law?
Yeah, definitely. So it is speeding up a lot of routine processes. So, for example, we might use it to do an initial document review. We'll identify some key risks, and then we'll, of course, cross-check that and make sure that it's accurate. As it is still an emerging technology, it is prone to hallucinations, which is when it makes up something that's not there, or it might miss a detail as well. But it is really useful as a starting point and as a tool to help you with the day-to-day reviewing, or you can use it to help draft clauses, for example, and then review for errors, things like that. So as long as you're working in conjunction with it, it can be really, really useful. Now, one aspect of this is that there is a bit of anxiety that it's going to overtake some grad roles. So I definitely feel that. For me personally, I think we're still at the stage where you need human lawyers and you need people who understand the law. AI can't replace that, but as it gets more developed, it will be more accurate. So you just need to stand out with people skills, for example, and that's going to become more and more important. Being able to say, look, here's what the AI put out about all the key risks. But these don't actually matter to the client. They're not concerned about that. I know about their business, I know about the context, and I can provide really tailored advice.
That's so insightful and accurate. I feel. I'm just thinking about a technologist, right? A coder, and people they're saying like software engineers aren't going to exist anymore. Well, what's certainly true on the technology front is that software developers aren't really writing code anymore. And I could go on the internet now and literally create an entire app just by putting in a prompt. Boom, I've got a website. Boom, I've got an app. But the difference with that technology is that I don't know what's under the hood of that. And I think law is probably similar, right? Like, yes, I could go and ask ChatGPT to write me a contract, but when I look at that, I have no idea what's missing in terms of what the risks are, what's missing. And so having that skill set and having experts who can look at that and understand that, to me, still remains relevant for a very, very long time to come.
Yeah, exactly. And look, AI does speed things up. So while we're working with it, it can make things more efficient for you. A lot of clients do use AI before they come to us. And that's fine because it can be a useful tool for understanding how contracts work or what's in there. But as you mentioned, you don't know what's missing, or there might be things in there that shouldn't be in there at all. And that's where we can help.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, like if you're watching along, all business and all work to some extent at the end of the day is human to human. Even if you're working in a silo, doing your thing, researching it, at some point you need to show that to other humans. You need to interact with other humans. So even if technology can take care of some of this stuff, once again, just like you said, Marriott, I really believe the future is around those human skills. Entrepreneurship, negotiation, persuasion, because we need to interact with humans, and then having that core understanding of how our entire system works, which law gives you, is an incredible advantage going forward into the future. My guest has been Marriott Stone. Thank you so much for joining me. You're from Legal Vision, and we'll drop the information about Legal Visions down in the description below, and also your profile. Thanks so much for joining me at the National Virtual Expo, Marriott. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. It's been wonderful.
I got my first grade at uni, and I just laughed out loud. It wasn't just a pass, I actually got a high distinction, and I'd always done terrible at school. I did the PSP course at SEU, which gave me like the foundations of what you need to be able to study at uni, and I didn't fail that, got good grades, so I was like, hey, we'll keep going. Studied a bachelor in psych, did all right, so I kept going and got into honours, and now I'm writing a thesis. Getting that first grade was the first time that I felt like I can actually do this, and it has led me to get to where I am now, and I'm really grateful of it.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session, and if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo, and Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7, so it's ready when you are.